Maya had always believed that life came in waves. Some days felt bright and open, like sunlight on calm water. Other days felt heavy and grey, like a storm cloud that refused to pass. She had learned this truth the hard way, through moments that shaped her heart more than she wished they had. But nothing prepared her for the morning when everything seemed to fall apart at once. It began before sunrise, when the world was still quiet and the streets outside her small apartment were dark and empty. She woke up to the sound of her alarm, but something inside her felt different. She felt the weight before her eyes even opened. A heaviness in her chest. A tiredness that wasn't physical. A fog that made everything inside her feel distant and slow. She sat up and looked around her room. The curtains were still drawn, letting only a thin line of streetlight enter. Her clothes from yesterday lay in a tired pile on the chair. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, lighting up briefly before fading again. She stared at it without reaching for it. She already knew what it meant. She already knew the day ahead would not be kind to her. Life had been testing her lately. Her job felt demanding. Her friendships felt strained. Her savings were fading faster than she expected. But today, something deeper troubled her, something she couldn't name. She got out of bed and walked to the bathroom, expecting to see her usual reflection. Instead, she saw someone who looked worn out, someone who had been carrying too much for too long. Her eyes were puffy, her hair messy, her shoulders slumped. She stared at herself for a long moment, then splashed cold water on her face. It didn't help. The heaviness stayed. She left her apartment and stepped into the early morning chill. The air smelled fresh, like damp pavement and distant rain. She walked down the street toward the bus stop, hugging her arms around herself as if she could guard her heart the way she guarded her body. The sky was turning a pale shade of blue, promising morning, yet offering no comfort, when the bus finally arrived. She climbed inside and found an empty seat. She looked out the window as familiar buildings passed by. A bakery with warm lights glowing. A small bookstore opening its doors. A man walking his dog, waving at the driver. These were things she normally enjoyed. But today, they felt like scenes in a movie she had seen too many times. Her mind wandered. She thought about her mother, who always tried to stay strong even when things were hard. She thought about her father, who worked long hours and still found time to ask her about her day. She thought about her younger self, the one who used to believe that bad days were only temporary and that life always balanced itself in the end. She missed that girl. When she arrived at work, she walked into the lobby with a feeling of dread. Her boss had been on edge all week. Deadlines were tight. Pressure was rising. She felt the weight of everyone's expectations pressing on her shoulders. She sat down at her desk and opened her laptop. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard, but her mind refused to focus. Every small task felt overwhelming. Every sound around her felt louder than usual. Her co-workers laughed across the office, but instead of feeling included, she felt even more alone. She tried to work anyway. She typed a sentence, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. She felt tears sting the back of her eyes. But she blinked them away, refusing to break down. Not here. Not now. Then her phone buzzed again, a message from her landlord. Her heart dropped. The rent was increasing. She closed her eyes for a moment, holding her breath as if that could slow the world spinning inside her. She felt a wave of frustration, fear, and exhaustion wash over her all at once. She wanted to run. She wanted to scream. She wanted to curl up into a small ball and disappear under her blankets for the rest of the day. Instead, she grabbed her bag and walked out of the office. She didn't ask for permission. She didn't tell anyone where she was going. She just left. Outside, the sky had fully brightened. But the world still felt dim. She walked with no direction until she reached the park, a place she often went when she needed to think. The grass was wet with morning dew. The benches were empty. She sat down on one and stared at the small pond in front of her. A duck paddled across the water, leaving ripples that spread gently to the edges. A woman jogged past with headphones in her ears. A mother pushed a stroller, humming a song Maya couldn't hear. Life moved on around her as if nothing had happened. But her world felt paused. Cracked. Tilted, she buried her face in her hands. A quiet sob escaped her. She felt embarrassed even though no one was watching. But she couldn't stop. The tears came slowly at first, then all at once. Tears for the stress she'd been carrying. Tears for the disappointment she felt in herself. Tears for the fear of not knowing what was coming next. When she finally lifted her head, the world was still there, steady and unchanged. That made her realize something: bad days didn't break the world. They only made her feel broken inside. But the world stayed steady. The trees continued to stand. The water continued to ripple. People continued to live, and if the world could keep going, maybe she could too. A soft breeze brushed her cheek. She took a deep breath and let her lungs fill. The air felt cold but refreshing, like a promise of something better. She reached into her bag and pulled out her notebook. It was old and worn, the pages filled with thoughts, reminders, and dreams she once believed in. She flipped through it until she found a blank page. Her pen hovered for a moment. Then she began to write. She wrote about how tired she felt. She wrote about how scared she was. She wrote about how lost she felt. But she also wrote about something else: hope, a small hope. A quiet hope. A fragile but real hope. She didn't know how everything would work out. She didn't know how long it would take. But she wrote that she would try. Even if she fell. Even if she failed. Even if the world felt heavy, she would try. She would get up again tomorrow. She would face the next sunrise. She would keep moving, even if slowly, because sometimes that was enough. She closed the notebook and looked up at the sky. The clouds were drifting apart. A soft ray of sunlight slipped through and touched the surface of the pond. It was a small moment, a quiet moment, but it felt like a beginning. Maya stood up from the bench, wiped her face, and took a steady breath. Her bad day wasn't over. But she felt lighter. She felt stronger. She felt ready to keep going, and she would. I share stories like this every day. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.